Hello.
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 Hello. What are folks doing today?
It's Monday,
It
so
is.
it's goodish.
Let give. Did I pause the recording?
Well, hi folks. This is the July 7th iteration of the OpenJS Security Collab Space um, weekly meeting. Everybody's welcome, of course. And the agenda, we have a few agenda items for today. Before we start recording, got we got introductions from Milan, who's here from SPDX and is curious, wanted to discuss our SBOM and CS CRM, cybersecurity supply chain risk management challenges and recommendations document. So to kind of summarize what happened offline before we started recording really quick, is there was a question around what the conclusions were and the rationale around some of these recommendations that we had, which effectively said that we didn't recommend that JavaScript libraries specifically do not use SBOMs or publish them. And so, Alon, to answer your question around, to kind of summarize the document, the um, the issue with this is focused specifically on JavaScript libraries, not necessarily freestanding applications. And the issue is that the way NPM does dependency resolution um, is Steve, catch me if I'm wrong, if I said this wrong, non-independent. No, I totally messed it up. um, and so the problem is that it's not necessary. The way dependency resolution works in NPM, it's not repeatable. And so any sort of um, SBOM that's generated um, on a JavaScript library is likely to not be the same for each time that it's run by different people. And one of the reasons for that is um, that the context of where the library is being used and the other libraries that are being used um, are affect the outcome each time uniquely and locally, so that if there was one SBOM generated for that library, it's not necessarily going to reflect the reality of when that library is used in the context of other libraries. Jordan?
Yeah, I just want to clarify. If you're starting from scratch with a lock file, like you use npm CI, it is deterministic over time, but not over time. So if you use npm has a before config where you can set pretend this is now, and it's deterministic if you set that timestamp. It's just that's the only, but in practice, no one ever does, so it's not. So it could be deterministic, but you have to take extra, unergonomic steps.
And how does a package lock comes in?
No. So this is in addition to the package lock. So the package lock will if you have a package lock, it will certainly ensure that that installation is repeatable. But if two people don't have a package lock and type
No, if they
npm
do.
install with right, but
So
if they do, it's the same.
Yeah. So I said it before. extremely knowledgeable about this. Unfortunately, I worked on this in a startup that I worked before. It wasn't an interesting task because it's so not deterministic, right? So how not interesting in the sense that it's not okay, I'm going to figure this out. No, it's so hard because it changes based on optimization and every small change in the npm version and what you install first and afterwards. If you have the same
Yeah, that's why
library.
I said from
Yeah,
scratch, right? Like, is
yeah,
is it
yeah,
any two machines with the
yeah.
same version of npm at the same time
Yeah.
with no pre-existing node modules and no lock file? npm install will be identical. It's just that's a lot of
Right.
variables, and most people don't keep
But
those the same.
if you do have lock, I just want to
Yeah,
understand. If you do have lock, this is not an issue. You can say,
correct.
okay. So the issue that you that so the axiom is basically we don't assume you have a package lock.
Okay.
If you had package lock, then there's no problem. You can define a deterministic reproducible reinstallation, right?
Yeah.
Of all
But
of the
so
dependency
then
tree.
without a package lock, if you have the ability to rimraf node modules first, and as long as you have a specific timestamp in mind, that is reproducible. That's my understanding since npm 5.
Well, okay.
But nobody like, it's very poorly documented and taught that parameter even exists, and it's not ergonomic to set it. So I'm not suggesting like you should still pretend that it's not deterministic. I was just being pedantic and clarifying.
Is it a private? So is it equivalent to a
It's
private
not.
API as well? Like
No, not at all. Like
be
dash
changed
b4 on the CLI equals anything that new date accepts in JavaScript will work. I use that all the time for debugging to say like, well, why did it work yesterday? And then I install as if it was yesterday. And that usually tells me that something new was published in the last day. You can also print out a lock file for today and for yesterday and then diff them and see what's changed and so on.
Do you also find links? Like if I use, PNPM stuff as so if I have symbolic links, that's also something that you struggle finding as.
I am assuming that this is. So my assumption here was that this is a world in which your entire code base is either first party in version control or installed by npm. If your symlinks fall within that bucket, then it still applies. If it does not, then I'm sure it does not apply.
Yeah, but if you simply at the end, under your node modules, you will have links to things that are installed completely in a completely different place in your system. So and it depends on also the package manager. Which one deals with it differently. Is that important when you
Oh yeah, I mean,
define
certainly, yeah, npm, yarn, pnpm, whatever. Like you cannot mix and match them. Everyone on a project has to use the exact same client, even if it's not the exact same version, but like the same major version of the same client. So if everyone's on npm 10, you're fine. If everyone's on npm 9, you're fine. If everyone's on yarn 2, you're probably fine. Like stuff like that. But if you have one person interacting with the wrong client, then sure, that throws almost all your guarantees out the window.
Yeah, but when you have under your node models, you have a link, a symbolic link.
Yeah.
Do you care about it in the SBOM, or you just say, okay, I have a symbolic link for, as far as I'm concerned, the file is there. I don't care. I don't need to give the hard link path.
Yeah, I mean, I think
something you're concerned with.
I think it would be useful to have it in there, but if it's going to work in a published package, then or a bundled up application, like then it has to be, the files have to be physically present, or it has to be something npm pulled down from a registry or from an install source. And so as long as you have one, like as long as you know which those things are, then it feels like it would satisfy what an SBOM is for, right? Because you can check it for vulnerabilities and CVEs. Like if it's either first party code or it's third party code. And if it's third party code, you need the Perl or whatever. And if it's first party code, it should be all in the one tarball.
Yeah, but symbolic links are, you have one path, you think this is the path, but it actually leads to a different one, which may
I
change.
mean, are you talking about like workspaces and how that resolution might work?
What do you mean?
Like if you set up a workspace, there are links to, as long as let's see, how do I put it? The workspaces allow you to share basically a node modules across many different projects in the same repo, essentially. And so it's a top level node modules for anything installed underneath it. And so those links are important to resolve because they could resolve to different versions of the same dependency name, not version, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I didn't refer to that, but that's definitely. But from your question, I think so. So you're trying to do a static SBOM, like a predicted SBOM based on repo, not to like take let's say a Docker image that you created and run an SBOM based on what was created in that container, like to do it predictively during as part of the check-in, right? The commit. Is that correct? Okay, I see baffled faces. So
Yeah,
If-
I'm sorry.
if-
I came in a little bit late too, so I think I missed the root of the conversation and just jumped in to clarify a point I heard. But
oh, so I'm from SPDX, and I jumped in to understand what is the core challenge that that in this conversation I understood from Victor that led you to believe that SPDX. I'm also very familiar with CycloneDX. Maybe I can help there, but specifically SPDX is not fit for describing SBOM for JavaScript.
so it's
That's the
not
context.
SPDX specifically. Neither SPDX nor Cyclone are useful in a published package where the consumer types npm install or any variant of it. It's only useful like whoever is the person that runs the command that downloads the stuff from the internet. That's the first time an SBOM is useful. For like there are smaller granular points where it may be useful, right? Like if one of the packages I npm install has a compiled binary, that compilation process should supply an SBOM that I need to ingest. But if everything in the dependency graph is recursively installed from a remote source, then it is only when I install it in my application that an SBOM becomes even remotely useful of whichever format.
So you're talking about an SBOM by which you generate after npm install.
Yes, that's right. In an application, not in an intervening library.
Okay, so back to Steve's comment, why is workspaces important? I didn't that part I didn't understand. But at that point, when you, let's say, build an image with your application, then you run npm install, everything is being installed. You have node module with a dependency, which isn't, if you don't have the lock, it's not completely predictable. That's the part where you want to create the SBOM, right?
Yes, but I guess my very, very simplified understanding is that you said earlier, like it's not a Docker image, right? Like the only thing you can, in my perspective, the only thing you can really make an SBOM for is something that you have put in a container, whether that's a tarball or a Docker image or whatever.
No,
It's after
well,
all your mutations are
you can
done,
also,
you make your SBOM, and then that's
yeah.
what it describes. And if anyone makes any alterations to it, that SBOM is completely invalidated, although it may be useful to reconstruct the new one. But it's like, it's only valid at the time you've like, you know, put your project in stasis.
Yeah, I mean, you can also create a bundle, right? It doesn't have to be
Yeah,
an
yeah.
image.
There's
If you create
you,
a
any sort of
website, right?
artifact.
But
Yeah.
yeah, at that point, you set it at a specific timestamp in this system, blah blah blah.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to understand the scope. So the scope is, let's say I'm talking about a Docker image. I started from scratch. I have, I don't know, an Alpine. I pulled into the into that during the build. I pulled the repository. I ran npm install, and maybe did an npm build, and then I have this bundle, and that's it. Hi.
I guess I'm not understanding what the exact question is here. I think we got off on some
So
of the
what does the
specifics.
SCOM needs to describe something? What do you want to describe? So I'm also, I come from the cybersecurity side. Okay, so
Yeah.
you know, when you look at an SBOM, and SBOM is important for many stuff, including licensing stuff. At the end of the day, you want to know retroactive risks, right? And if you don't have the both detailed and reliable, right, and concise description of your bill of materials, right, dependency tree, which could be very, very complex in JavaScript because of its because of its flexibility. Then it's very hard to be certain, right? You can miss
Like
stuff. You can,
an npm lock file, which npm has been able to generate for nearly a decade and a half, is an SBOM conceptually. It's not one of the commonly accepted SBOM formats, but an npm installed application has basically always had sufficient information to produce an SBOM since its inception, since the ecosystem's inception. So like at the application point, that problem is long since solved. Like, and there may be more nuance to it that needs improvement, sure, but like it's the first ecosystem I know of where that is true. Even I think a gemfile.lock doesn't have the same quantity of information. And the real question, debate, contention comes up when SBOM enthusiasts attempt to encourage library authors to do something with SBOMs. And that's where the questions don't tend to get answered when they're fully interrogated, because it's not clear what the value is of anyone prior to the application developer doing anything unless they're compiling and vendoring something, which in the npm ecosystem has long been a hugely bad practice.
So okay, so the goal, your goal, like in this system, I don't know if this is the only thing you discuss. Okay, I'm but for the reason I jumped in is to create an alternative format that can enable library maintainers to supply SBOM together with their library.
So for libraries that do some sort of build process and then bundle in the output, that would be valuable for them. Some way to describe, like some standard or conventional way to describe, hey, I bundled a thing. Here is the like SBOM for that you can then ingest into your main SBOM later. But that is, there are specific use cases where that is common, but over the entire ecosystem, it is exceedingly rare to have that happen.
I've had my hand up for a little bit.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
So a couple things. One, nobody that is actually interested in the actual security of the thing that they're doing is going to care about that, because you can't trust it. You can't just say, oh, you know what, I'm going to defer my my security analysis and rigor to the upstream vendor for some reason. You're never going to do that. You're always going to, and this is why we talked before about a bundled SBOM. Even in a lot of cases with where attestation is today, is not something that we can trust. It's not something we can guarantee. It's not something we can hand to our compliance and auditors and say, here, they said, trust us. And so we're telling you, trust them as well. Like, no, we have to do our due diligence. Furthermore, you know, and Jordan spoke about this on the whole, said something about vendoring or bundling things that aren't part of the thing, and that's discouraged and all that. But we see this constantly in enterprise. And that's why we still, to this day, at IBM, we not only run SBOM tools and analyze static files, we have to actually scan every single line of source code, both binary and text, to find any instance of licenses or other things that could be shaded software components, and we still miss stuff. So it's a really, really difficult problem to solve in general, but you're not going to get, you know, unless there's something new and revolutionary out there that I heard of, there's no free lunch here, and we always have to do our own SBOM generation, our own scanning, to determine what is actually in the software that we are either serving or distributing.
I don't understand what you're trying to achieve. So you say that this is very hard and it's not possible, or it doesn't really, you know, I don't understand. At the end, the ability, you know, you have, I wouldn't say unlimited means, right? But this is IBM, and but you know, most of the world uses, I mean, the world runs on JavaScript, and maybe it wasn't meant for that, but you know, this you know, it's great, but it's a great service to be able to provide, you know, if I use libraries to allow when I want to create an SBOM and provide something to my clients, right? Some security to be able to use information which I don't know if this is what you're trying to do. Maybe I don't have, because this is part of how the package was built. Maybe it's something that can come from the package maintainer. But when it comes to dependency at the end, I'm what I'm missing here is, on one side you want, if what I said before is your goal, to allow package maintainers to produce and provide SBOM together with their package, then from what you said, I understand that it's not in almost all cases it's not reliable.
Yeah, well, it may be reliable, but it may not be reliable. And because we don't,
That's called not reliable.
Sure, but you know, but because we can't know that, right? And because the quality and the veracity and the processes of that will shift depending on where the upstream is, we have to do our own due diligence, and we have to generate our own SBOM. And to what extent you do that, and to what tooling, and to what, you know, degree and depth, and looking for, you know, whether it's looking for shaded dependencies, whether considering mono repos, those are all things that you have to, you know, make decisions about in terms of how much effort you want to expend, and how critical, and you know, what the critical path is for the libraries and applications that you're trying to scan, I guess.
Okay. Again, I guess I still don't understand the goal. I don't know if I'm hijacking this. Can I show you? Can I share my screen and show something that I hope may be useful? Tell me. To play around and see. It's possible to share my screen?
Sure. But
And
just to quickly answer your
yeah.
question on that, you still didn't understand the goal. The goal is simply to understand what are the software components that are in the thing I am consuming.
At the stage of the library, not when you are actually running npm install at the end and you run, you know, whatever tool you run to create SBOM. At that point, you know what you have installed, right? At a specific time, but from what was said before, I understand that the goal is to go one step back and say, okay, I'm a package maintainer. Here is the package. Oh, here's also the SBOM of that package. That's not the goal.
I mean, I don't think an SBOM is anyone's goal. The goal is the thing the SBOM can do, which is answer the question of what's in your application. Right? Like the SBOM isn't the point. The SBOM is one the current preferred solution.
So imagine that. Well, yes, but an SBOM can be, let's say, let's go out of the world of JavaScript, okay? To compile code, right? I'm using a library. I don't have the source code. I don't have the dependencies. So I'm, as part of the requirement from another company, which I use their library, let's say it's an external one, I may ask them to supply an SBOM. And when I produce an SBOM, I will combine those SBOM into mine, right? In JavaScript, again, as you said, it doesn't work exactly like that, right? Or it does, but it's not, the structure is different, and depends on multiple stuff. So what I'm trying to understand, are you trying to do to get to the same point as with compiled libraries, where a maintainer of a library can prove or produce an SBOM and give it to a company that wants to use that library? Or that is
Well,
meaningless?
I don't understand why the company that they would be providing it to, why can't they generate that SBOM themselves?
I don't either. I'm just trying to understand. I'm trying to understand the problem. I'm trying to understand so okay. Let me, as I said, I want to share something, because I don't understand exactly what's the what is the barrier from using SPDX. Okay, that's the thing I'm trying to see. Maybe you can use SPDX to describe dependencies, and if in a way that works, because it's a graph, it's very, very flexible. And if not, I want to understand what's missing, because maybe we should add that possibility with that option. Okay, so what I want to share, let me see. I'll share this stuff. Let's share. Yeah. Do you see my screen?
Mhm.
You see like a graph on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna also make it big for myself. You still see that graph?
Mhm.
Okay. So this is an application I wrote when I started to try and figure out SPDX. SPDX is complicated. Okay, it's more complicated than CycloneDX. I'm gonna try to explain it in like a minute and a half, but it's
Wait,
based on,
you're showing
yeah.
the GitHub. You're showing the GitHub page right now. The
No.
security Collab.
That's why I
Okay.
asked if you see the graph. Now you see the graph?
We see the markdown file with your
We see the
No.
markdown right now.
small
Got
graph.
it, got
Yeah.
it, got it. Okay, let me stop sharing and share
A minute
again,
ago, we
and
saw the
now-
big graph.
Yeah,
Yes, 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 yes. I'm gonna show the entire screen and just move to it. Okay, desktop. Share and, okay, now do you see it?
Yep, now we see
Yep.
it again.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. So in SPDX, it's based on a graph. It's based on RDF, which is it's a very basic way to describe graphs. You have a node, edge, and a node, and this is called a triple, right? Edge, node, edge. Sorry, a node, edge, node, and you have a list of triples. And if you concatenate these triples, you can create graphs. I don't know if I explained it. It's very basic RDF.
That's good.
In RDF, there is a notion of something you can define classes. It's kind of like object oriented. In you know that we all know. Well, in JavaScript less. But here you have a list of profiles. Profiles, you can think about them as like categories. Okay. So we have the core profile, which has lots of classes. Okay. For example, a hash. So you can actually drag a node, a new node, and that's a hash node. And inside this hash node, let me come closer to it. You have you know, either a selection from a list, or you can type text. If you want to get information about this class, right, this instance, then you can click here and get documentation about the specific field. Or you can go here and click on get info and get information about this class, the hash class itself. Okay, and as I said, these are object oriented. So hash actually inherits from a different, it's a subclass of another class, which is integrity method, which is doesn't inherit from anything. It's also an abstract class. Abstract classes means that you can't instantiate them directly. So integrity method is not something you will find here. Okay. And I don't think hash has a subclass, but some classes you can drag them and also have other classes. So this is like a, you know, a very quick explanation. What you also have in SPDX, in addition to you know, whatever you have here inside, you also have edges. So you can connect between nodes, right? And as part of the specification of SPDX, every class has a list of fields or properties that it may have, and it also has a list of it's called, in the world of RDF, it's called object property. It's nodes that you can connect, that you can link to, and what edges you can use. So the edges themselves, you see, they also have names, types, organization, for example. If you go to edges here, yeah, sorry, it's the other way around. Let's say this one, SPDX document, edges. You see that you can draw a root element and you can draw an element. For example, if I want to create an extension, no extension external identifier, something that is like a any identifier basically that you can say, oh, it identifies this the SPDX document. You can click here and pull it, and it will create a new one. And you can add, you know, comments and whatever fields are described in the SPDX spec. I'm just going to show you briefly how it looks like in the actual spec. So this is the latest our latest spec, which is version 3.0.1. We are currently working on version 3.1. I think it will take a few months until it's
Yeah.
out.
Well,
Uh,
can I jump in real quick? Like, I guess
yes, yes.
is it, did you get the idea that there's something specific about JavaScript? It doesn't apply to every single other software ecosystem,
No,
or specific to
I didn't.
SPDX that you're asking about?
Yeah.
Like, what I'm,
No, the
because
reason
as
I'm
far as I
trying
know,
this
that
is
like
because
SPDX and Cyclone are identically useful and useless in a given situation, and the concept of SBOMs is only useful if you trust the person who created the SBOM, as Chris explained, which kind of makes it not very useful in open source.
so if you want to say that there's no reason to talk about S-bombs at all, then
Well, I'm it's
that's
fine
one
if there's
thing.
something to talk about, but it's like, it's more that there's off, like, for years, right, since SBOM, since OpenSSF started, at least, everyone's talked about SBOMs and asking people to do things about SBOMs, and we've had a lot of discussions in this group and in OpenJS about what, if anything, do we need to do. And at the moment, it's kind of seems like there's nothing we need to do unless there's a problem that other people, like the end consumers of open source, tell us that we need to do to make their lives easier. And the erstwhile answer of please provide an SBOM with your package doesn't work, like, conceptually, because of the security and trust issue that Chris pointed out. So I guess I'm like, I'm unclear on
again,
how
if
we can
you're
help you.
no, I'm trying to help you.
Okay.
So I stopped and I said if I can share this because
Mhm.
I couldn't understand from this conversation. I thought that you're struggling with finding a way to describe what people are trying to describe in an SBOM, but in the context of JavaScript. But from the conversation, I think I understand more that you don't see this as an issue, you just see it as useless. It's not as something that it's irrelevant.
I mean, if yeah, I think so. Like, not in a denigrating way, right? Like, if literally, if there's anything that shows up where where there's a value in us doing something, we want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
So
interject a little bit.
Please.
I had a discussion with Elon earlier. He explained to me that the problem can be solved using
I'm not sure. So this is what I want to show you. So if you do think there is value, then this is a playground, right? This is open source. It's part of the SPDX, the official SPDX tools website. You can play around here and try to see if this helps you define something that is useful. This is the reason I jumped here, okay? But and I do want to like finish up and kind of go over this very quickly and you know you're welcome to try this out, but I want to explain about relationships because this is, I think, a unique thing that maybe you'll find interesting or useful. But in regards to SBOM, this is my personal view. I doubt that there won't like people will need to have SBOMs for a JavaScript project. Absolutely no questions about it. And it will be mandatory if it's even if it's not mandated by no, lawmakers, right? Because their way of dealing with it, which is I think very smart, is just saying, you're liable, whatever. We don't care how you deal with it exactly, but you're still liable. And because JavaScript is basically the world now, then there absolutely should be a way to have SBOM, which is um, reliable enough to share with clients. And not everything in JavaScript is, you know, is open source. But that put aside, let me just, I want to just show this quickly. Okay, so this is an example of an extremely simplified SBOM. Okay, so we have the SPDX document. Its root element is an SBOM, and then it's the SBOM root element is the package. I won't get into why we have this complex two level connection, but this is where things start up. So we have a package, and it's defined. You can define what it is, right? It could be an architecture. It could be and we add stuff all the time here. So SPDX goes much more than SBOM. If you want to SBOM, CycloneDX is much easier. This is if you want to describe also metadata and more complex relationships in your supply chain, and you can do very complex descriptions of your supply chain and dependencies using SBOM. It's very flexible. So here it's an application. This is the name, and you can add more fields. It has relationships. So relationship is our trick to make it extremely flexible. So you drag relationship from here, and inside the relationship, you say what kind of relationship, and there's a very long list, and it always grows. I have to say I don't really like that we just add stuff here all the time, but there are many types of relationships that you can define here. And also the graph doesn't have to be acyclic. You can have cycles. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. In this case, there is depends on, and then it depends on another package, which this is a supplier, and it contains another package. I can't tell you what's different between depends on and contains. I don't know exactly what was the initial thought about it, but I can check.
Who's
Hold on, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I want to make sure we have at least 5 minutes at the end to
Yeah,
discuss, to just hit on the topics we need to really quick
Yeah.
for some other next steps, and so we can tee up the agenda for the next meeting. Chris, did you have anything?
Well, it was in relation to what Elon was showing us, that I just feel like I'm missing context, or I don't understand like who's supposed to be using that tool that he's demonstrating.
No, so the tool itself is I created for myself, and then I said, okay, I'm going to share it. I open source it. The reason I showed it now, and I stopped the conversation, and I because I didn't exactly understand how can I help here, because I'm not sure that the goal I thought was your goal. If you find it useful, you're welcome to try out stuff there and see if you can use SPDX to describe things. SPDX is a standard, and it's on the way to be also the new version, SPDX 3, to be an ISO standard. So if this is helpful, use it. Not now. I mean, just wanted to show you this. If you want to, it's a playground. That's it.
Cool. Thanks, Alon. I think there's a lot to talk about here. I think sorry to have to cut you off. We just want to make sure we cover a few points really quick. So on just to kind of review some items. One, some of you may have noticed that I put you on as reviewers for the version 2 of the secure release guide. I uploaded that. I markdownified the original Google Doc and I uploaded it. I didn't merge the pull request, so you all have a chance to do any final checks and things like that. Steve, I didn't put you on as a reviewer, but if you would like to check out the pull request and see any last minute stuff, please do check it out. The agenda that I hope that we can do in the next meeting is to discuss is to go back to the original brainstorming document and talk about the next topics to include in the secure releases guide, just for a brief reminder for folks. We were kind of building that incrementally. So now that we have this part done, we should definitely talk about what we want to focus on next in the document. Let's see, what else is there? There was also, I've done some more cleaning up of the data for the evaluations, for the project evaluations. And I'm working through getting some nice graphs and charts and stuff like that in the Google Sheet, so we can discuss that in an offline meeting. So just bear with me on that. And finally, the last item was on the OpenJS CNA. I'm going to reset the doodle and send the doodle out to the folks in a little bit, so we can set up some time this week or early next week. So just be on the lookout for that. And with that, cool, that only took a few minutes. Any questions on those items, folks, or anything else that you were expecting to talk about that I didn't bring up? Cool beans. And then Ilan, going back to now, since we have like a couple minutes left, going back to SPDX and SBOMs and JavaScript, what would be most helpful for you for next steps on this conversation?
I don't think I thought that you're suggesting an alternative format for SBOM, because CycloneDX and SPDX doesn't fit your needs.
Oh,
So,
no.
No.
I
Not
thought
at all.
I hope I didn't
No.
bore you. Sorry.
No, I found myself honestly just a little bit like confused on what the problem is that we were trying to address. And it sounds like I'm not the only one. But yeah, I haven't heard of like an alternative format, or we're certainly not working on one, at least not in this group. I know some of us are participate in some of the CycloneDX or SPDX stuff like separately, but not really related to like JavaScript specifically.
Okay.
But no, there's no effort that I'm aware of, and I'm pretty sure there's not, to develop like a third SBOM format or something like that.
Yeah, definitely not.
And like even stuff like NPM, as you probably know, can generate SBOMs in I think a couple of different formats, right? Just like
Mhm.
at the command line.
In the two.
And it can do it in both. I guess just since you're asking that question, Alana, I think for perspective, to give you some context, the purpose of the challenges and recommendations doc was to be guidance for individual project maintainers in the foundation and others in the JavaScript ecosystem on how to handle to help them understand what was being asked of them, and a recommendation on how to handle these requests. In the end, you're right that governments, and I used to be in the U.S. government, governments are absolutely regulating SBOMs as a part of their procurement processes. That's absolutely the case, especially, but that's in the context of freestanding applications that they're purchasing. And the guidance that we generated really was focused on libraries that any rando on the internet can go publish on NPM. And so regulatory context isn't really there for that. And I think the sense from this group is that if a commercial vendor does not want to use an open source library because it does not contain SBOM, then like that is absolutely their prerogative. But the reality is that they have the ability to generate an SBOM themselves within the context of their application that actually is accurate for their application, and to meet the needs of government regulators and companies that are looking for this information, but understand that the library SBOMs themselves are not actually super helpful. And we're
Well,
happy to talk about it more, of course, but just wanted to give you that perspective and background on what
Yeah.
was the motivation behind that document to begin with.
So I'll say one thing about that. As I said, SPDX is much more than just describing, dependency list. The thing is that it's possible to set set rules. If you want to turn your recommendations into something which may be automatically verified, like if a company can run a set of rules to verify that, okay, those developers actually applied your recommendations, that may be possible to do through SPDX too. But if that's interesting, then that's for another conversation.
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot. Does anybody have any thoughts on that before we close out the day?
Host a meeting tomorrow, a skip meeting, very related to trust, as Jordan have asked. You can join the SPDX Slack and there's meeting information there.
Cool beans. Well, thank you, folks. Oh, Jordan.
No, that's it. Thank you.
Awesome sauce. Well, thank you, everybody, and have a great week.
Thanks, everyone.
Doodles.
Thanks.
Bye.